All right, what is going on, everybody? Can you guys even hear me with this thing? Let's get down to business. I had somebody email me yesterday, and I want to thank that person. I love it. I greatly appreciate it, and this is exactly why I make these videos. They emailed me yesterday thanking me for making these videos because it's been helping them out. But there was a catch to this email. They were asking me for a favor, and that favor was to check out a property in a state that I don't even live in and let them know if that I felt that this was actually a good deal or not, whether it was a good deal to purchase. Well, I just want to start by saying that it's such a loaded question. It is so difficult to answer that question. And there's something I wanted to bring up about that. When you're asking somebody to look at a deal, it's really tough for somebody that's not familiar with an area to just come right down, sit down for a couple minutes and say, yes, that's a good deal, or no, it's not. I have no idea what your goals are, whether it's to own hundreds of rentals, whether it's to buy properties, fix them up, resell them, whether it's to house hack, so you want to move into this house, put in some sweat equity and turn around and sell it in 2 years, avoid some capital gains and make some nice profit, potentially, if we don't have a crash. But all these questions play into whether or not this is in a good deal or not. But I want to show you guys why PropStream is a good tool to just quickly figure out what a property could be worth and if it's something to possibly pursue or not, or where you would need to be on your offer. At the end of the day, there's no perfect science to this, but I'm going to show you guys how I would do this in an area that I have no experience, no idea, and a blind address given to me. So first thing I did was I did take that address and I plugged it into Zillow. So this is the property that I was asked if it was a good deal or not. And this property is located in Kingston, New York. I actually lived in Syracuse, New York for a little bit. Just some good information for you guys there. But they're asking $119,000. They did do a price cut not too long ago. Zestimate's telling us that it's a $99,000 property and that it's for sale. One thing is that Zillow will not tell you when a property is pending. Usually it just goes for sale to sold, and you cannot see pending unless there's something new that I'm not aware of. But I like to just quickly go through here. I would usually read a description on a property because there could be some good information in there, like brand new roof. Judging on the size of this property and knowing what I pay for roofs, not a big deal. That's probably $5,000 to get a new roof on a house like this. I could be wrong based on the area and what people are paying for their contractors out there. So I've got the address of this property. I have no idea if the details and the specs that they're giving me here are accurate or not. So that brings me to the next thing, and that's a property appraiser site. I love going to a property appraiser, and when you don't know, just Google the city, the state, and the words property appraiser. You can't go wrong. You should find it. You should figure out that it's public record access and you can track down your property. And I did that. And I wasn't sure if this was the exact property. So I said, hey, show me the GIS map. I was able to see that it is the exact same location as the property that we're looking at right here. Right there. You can see it's just one in from this Broadway. So I believe we found the right property. And if we want to see what else we got here under the property details. So this was the first page. I actually had clicked on this GIS map to get to this one. But if I come back in here, you can see the basic property information, which my first time on this property appraiser site. Yes, I looked at it for 2 minutes before I started this video, but this is how simple it is, folks. Up here, you got some choices. I can't see the bedroom, the bathroom count, the square footage, and usually that's going to be part of your property appraiser records. So I clicked on owner sales. It did not give me that information, but it did show me that the last sale recorded on the property appraiser was in '06 for $80,000. And the prior owner was Dennis McClure. So we can do improvements, and porch covered, 133 square feet. 1900, but that's the year of the house. And what's interesting is we just read that it has a new roof, but I don't see a new roof showing up there, but maybe this property appraiser doesn't show things like that on there. And here under inventory is where we actually get the information that is pertinent or important to us. Living area, 1140 square feet, that matches up. We're dealing with a 2-story house, so it tells us what's on the first floor and what's on the second floor. So again, seeing what that square footage on the first floor is, and thinking about my roof, it should be $5,000-$6,000 roof tops to get that new roof. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and built in 1900. That to me is probably the most important thing that I'm seeing on this, because when you're comping a property, which is what we are going to do here, folks, we are going to be needing to know some of that information, the bedroom, bathroom, square footage, and the year. Those are all really important. So we're sitting here on PropStream. I got 2 of them open. I'll close one of them. So I am going to do this like you guys are just logged in. You're staring at the same screen. We're going to search, copy and paste in this address. We're going to hit enter, and boom, here we are. We're in Kingston, New York. I take it this is close to Woodstock. Let's see here. So we could zoom in, zoom out on our map. You guys should be familiar with all this. I'll throw a link up in the corner here if you guys need to see a video that talks about how to just learn the features and what you can and can't do here with PropStream, but that's not what this is about. This is how we can quickly try and come up with an estimated value and determine if this is a good valued property or not. So we have our property information here. It's got the red dot. Currently, all these blue dots are our neighbors that are selected. If we click MLS, they're changing to yellow. And as you can see, we have numbers next to the address that correlate with the numbers on the map. I love that with PropStream. Love it. But what we want to do is we want to get into our property. So we're going to click on it and we are going to do details. Once we're on our details page, we're going to come over here and we are going to click on comparables and nearby listings. But first things first, let's just quickly check that Property Appraiser is showing us the same information that our property, let's make sure PropStream showing us what our Property Appraiser showed us. 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1140 square feet, 1900 is when it was built. So far, so good. But if we look at what Zillow was showing us, compared to what PropStream's showing us, you're going to see something a little bit different. And that's the Zestimate. This $99,000 is what Zillow is telling us they think this property is worth. PropStream is just quickly now saying that they think it's an estimated value of $123. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference there. But what PropStream's doing is taking a lot of sold data, MLS, and public sale records to come up with that based on the comparables they've selected. And that's what we want to talk about is our comparables. So we're going to click on this comparables and nearby listings so we can keep this as short as possible, because if you know me, I'm not that good when it comes to keeping things short. So we got our comparables and nearby listings. The second we click on that, we have a map that changes down here. All these records that you're seeing under comparable properties, where it says that there's 12 properties right here, are based on public records. If we click on MLS, you see that changes to 8. And if we do both, yep, that's what we thought, 20. 8 plus 12 is 20. And those are our comparable properties. And that's all based on whatever you see in this search range here. So what I want to do is I only want to look at my MLS sold comps. We're going to start with how an appraiser is going to look at the comparables of a property when we go to sell it on the retail market and get that retail price based on the condition the property's in at that moment. So if we click on MLS, you can see we have 8 properties, and this is one of my favorite parts of PropStream. I've talked about this before. This information right here, this average sales price of $133, price per square footage, days on market, this changes as we change the criteria and the filters. You're going to see these numbers change. So as we uncheck something, boom, it just changed. I love that. I don't have to use my calculator over here. Blah, 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 numbers, plus, minus, multiplication, division. Don't you love it? That's what we went to school for. All right, so let's do what an appraiser is going to do. They are going to look back 6 months. So our date range, well, we would leave it as it was, which would be today's date, and we want to go back 6 months. So let's take this property, and just to be safe, it's the 21st of October. We could go a little bit outside of the 6-month range, so we'll just take this down. We'll do the beginning of April. You could go search for that on here, or you could just plug it in yourself. And you're going to see as soon as I change that, we're already down to 4 comparables. Now, ideally, you want to have at least three comparables on a property to come up with what your actual retail value is. And you can see PropStream likes to auto-complete some of this information. So the square feet range is already pre-filled in. I like that. The distance is filled in. I like that. Status is set to sold. So far, so good, but we need to keep tweaking a few things. So we just did a 6-month date range. Well, what's important is bedroom and bathroom count. So I'm going to set this to 3, 3. I want to do exacts. This is an area I don't know. Let's say I'm a virtual wholesaler. I buy out a state. I'm trying to learn an area really quick. I want to find the best comparables possible. And when I can't find those, then I'm going to broaden my range and look outside of the normal box. But I want to find properties, hell, I want to find the properties that are right next to my house right now, in the exact same neighborhood and the same street to start. So let's get as precise as possible. Our bedrooms are set to 3. Let's put our bathrooms at 1. The square footage range is actually pretty good. The lower in square footage a property is, the tighter you're going to want that square footage range. And the larger square footage, like a 3,000 square foot house, we're going to have to really expand that range because it's unique. As you get higher in square footage, there's usually not as many of those houses, so you do have to expand it a little bit. But I always like to start somewhere around that 250 range on both sides of that number. So if we're talking about a house that's around 1150, typically I want to have it set to 250 under that and 250 over it. I'm fine with what PropStream's showing me right now, this 912 and 1368. It's close enough. It's actually really close. Distance in miles, appraisers will look out up to a mile, and they'll start to expand that when they don't have as many records. You can see based on what we've done right now, we've created only one single comparable property, and that is an MLS property that was sold. It was on market for a little over 2 months, and it actually just sold 2 months ago. So if we click on the details, it's going to open up a new window, which I like. You're not interfering with anything we've already created. We can see that this property, their estimated value was 48 for it. Click on the MLS details. Property moved to taken off market. Has selected bidder from time limited auction and out for signature. So initially when I read this, I'm thinking it could have been an REO or a bank owned property. A lot of information here. Sorry, phone's going off there. We got our sale date, and there's not any pictures. If there were pictures, there would be a number up here, which leads me even more so to believe that this was a bank-owned property. Let's see, it was a cash sale, arm's length, buyer, yep, seller, U.S. Bank. So I had a good hunch there. The only thing that stinks is we don't have pictures of this property, but knowing that it was bank-owned, if we talk about bank-owns in my area, it was probably somewhat distressed and it needed some work. So at the end of the day, that's going to be a good comp for properties that are also in bad condition, but it's not going to be a great property for using as a comp for what we think this house could sell for after it's fixed up. One other thing I did not do, and I'm going to go back into it, I apologize for that, is I wanted to look at those details so you can see it was 1,000 square feet, well 1,050, so 100 less than what we've got. It's actually 20 years older, and it was the same bedroom bathroom count. So it's not a bad comp, especially if we know our property, which when you flip through these pictures here, you can tell that we have somewhat of a distressed home here. I mean, inside and outside need a little bit of love. Yeah, everything. This house needs everything. Based on the square footage, 1 bathroom. Let's estimate 3,000 for the bathroom. Let's give the kitchen 7,000. It's not a huge kitchen. We don't have to go crazy. Maybe we just want to make the place rent ready. Even with countertops, we're going to stay at 7,000 or less. So we're at 10,000 for a kitchen and bath. flooring, let's say 3,000. We're at 13. Let's put 3,000 into the outside. You know, to rehab this house and make it a good livable house where we could sell it for a good price, you know, I would estimate around $20,000, give or take, depending if you're doing this or hiring somebody out. So their asking price of $119 is already a number to me that seems high. It almost seems like the retail listed price. Yes, they got a new roof. That's not a big deal to me. And I understand why they're doing price cuts right now, because I don't think they've got it priced right. But they're probably thinking it's a good market and they can sell it. So let's go back to comping this property. We had that one. We want to expand this. So what are we going to do? We're going to start expanding some of our data. One thing I like to do is say, well, let's make this 2 bedrooms, because if all of this were to stay the same, yet we can find comparables that have a less number of bedrooms, well, it's a little easier to understand that, oh, well, we can add a little bit more value onto ours. I'm going to use the map just to see where this one comp was. So it's actually 2 streets over. Looks like it's a slightly different neighborhood. Maybe the houses aren't as close together right there, but it's still 1 house off. So that is not a bad comp for the current status and condition of the house. So I'm gonna, let's see, I said I would change this to 2 bedrooms. So if we change that to 2, all of a sudden we got 2 more properties here. And in terms of distance to ours, we got one. It's not far. It's still within that half mile as the other one would be. This other one looks to be right off of an interstate. It's right at the on or off ramp. This is number 3. So this is Delaware Ave. We do have pictures, hence the camera. It was sold back in April, so right at the cusp of our 6-month cutoff. By the time we're selling our property, this would be outside of the 6-month range. Something to think about. But if I flip through these pictures here, I'm going to say we've got a pretty similar property, except this property would be livable right now based on what I'm looking at. So we're talking a livable property. Is it in great shape? No. Does it need some paint? Does it need a little bit of love? It does. It does. It does. But this is a livable house. It's a nice looking hot water heater. Tankless. Don't know why they call them tankless when it's still a tank, you know? I mean, water's still going through it. So that's a decent comp. I would say at 106, and again, what did I forget to do? Well, I hadn't actually clicked into the details. I was just looking at pictures. So let me go into the details here. They're saying that it was a 2 bedroom, 1 bath. The square footage was less. The year built was a lot less. And this property was able to sell for that $106,000. Yes, they're by the interstate. To me, though, this is a good comp because we can add in a little bit more money for the fact that we've got an extra bedroom and we got that higher square footage. So this is one that I would use as a comparable. So that's good. This Chester Street property, let's go right into this one. Check our information out. We got more square footage on this one. Exact same year. Less bedrooms, 1 bath, so that means you got some spacious living area since you got that higher square footage. That's a lot of square footage for a 2 bedroom. I've dealt with many 3-bedroom houses with that same square footage and 2 baths. So just looking at everything else, I'm going to go into the MLS details. This one sold for $180 with 70 days on market, so that's a great comp. The only other thing I'd like to look at with this one is obviously going to be the pictures and just the neighborhood, the area. So I flipped through this. This is a rehabbed house. They got some 5-inch baseboard in here. Actually, no, that's even taller than that. That's probably 8. That might be 8-inch baseboards. Looks like fresh paint. House is being lived in, so it's in good shape. You got, looks like laminate countertops with a backsplash, stainless steel appliances. I don't know why I was doing that from such a weird angle when I could have just clicked a little further in. Some neat carpentry. You got carpet in the bedrooms. Oh, the joys of carpet. It's a pretty cool bathroom. I mean, you could have a heck of a better vanity in there. But I love that flooring in the subway tile. That's actually pretty neat. But it's pretty cool to see that a house that has this type of finishing was able to fetch $180,000. This is a good comp. This is a great comp. But let's check the area real quick. Let's check the area for this one. So that was Chester Street, which is number 2. There's our property. So here we go. So 2 is up here. And again, I don't know this area, and that's the biggest problem with doing anything remote or virtual. You do need to end up at some point establishing a relationship with 1, 2 people, maybe realtors, some property management companies that can give you tips and hints about how different it could be from street to street in an area. So I'm saying that this is a good comp. It's right across from a school. Looks like 2-lane road. That's good. It's not a double lane. Yeah, I don't know. Only thing I don't like is that you got 2 houses backing up to your 2 or 3 houses backing up to your 1 lot. But regardless, to me, that's actually a great comp. I mean, yes, it throws a wrench into our numbers a little bit because of how different it is, but it's still a good comp to have. So just based on this information right now, they're still giving us an average sales price of around that 119. If we go and take out this distressed one, it's popping us up to 143, which ends up being a little bit more accurate because we know both of these 2 comps right here that we're looking at that had a sale of 180 and 106 were for 2-bedroom. But remember, the 1-2-bedroom has more square footage, so I'm actually just I'm gonna let those 2 kind of cancel each other out. But what I'm gonna do is I would venture to say that the property that we're dealing with right now on the retail level is worth around that 140 as a conservative number. When I see a property is sold for 180 and it's 2 streets over, I would think if I rehab mine, I could get that 140 on a bad day. We know this one for 106, had it had that extra bedroom, probably would have been maybe closer to the 120 mark. But let's see if we can do something else to get ourselves just some more comps. Let's see if we change this back to 3 bedrooms and we up the distance to 1. You know, I did not show you guys the property type, property class. If you're getting a whole lot of results, start filtering it down. You know, click on single family, click on residential. It's not as big a deal when you're not getting a whole bunch of results, but you still would want to go through and check that and make sure something in the record is not being flagged. You can also have the opposite effect, though. You might decide that you want to check that, and it might rule out a property because somehow that data wasn't already marked on the record. So that happens even on the MLS. That's not just PropStream. That's just something you're going to experience. But even changing our property here to 1 mile does not change our results at all. But let's do this again. Let's change this back to 2-bedroom, where before we had 2. So we actually gained another one, and it's Elmendorf Street, 119. So let's check this one out. So this is all the way up here, which is a completely different area because it's a mile away. Let's see what we got. It was a 2-1. I like the way that one looks on the outside. Let's see, lot size 3,600 year built, so a little bit newer. Square footage is about 100 square feet less. Wow. Shingles completely sideways, it looks like. So we got a livable house here. Dated inside, but livable. Needs work. You go and take all this furniture out, it's going to look just like the house we're trying to comp. But, ooh, I like this garage. Definitely needs work. Looks like it's got 2 different roofs. It's got some bowing going on. Not really sure if there's any value that I would be adding with this garage, except for the fact that you got a place for a garage. Obviously, if I'm seeing this, there's some type of driveway to get up to that. Yep, right there. So that's actually pretty neat. I would say there's a lot of opportunity with this property. Let's go back in. So this one ended up selling, it's saying for 114. MLS says 119. This is the bonus question. What would cause that difference? Good answer. Closing concession costs. Closing concession. CCC. I couldn't have said that any worse. Seller concessions. Somebody probably got a credit. The buyer probably got themselves a $5,000 credit on the purchase of this property, which would mean no, there was cash put on it. That's interesting. I would expect that to have been a finance deal if there was, so maybe there was some type of agreement during inspection periods. Maybe the seller gave a credit for a roof or something like that because of the way something came back on the inspection report. But it's interesting. We got a lot more of the 2 bedrooms here. They do sit on market. Days on market in this area, I'll say, seems to be a little on the high side, except for this one at 180, which just, that is the best represented photographed property that we've seen, meaning it looked like it had the most updates, so it fetched the best price. So you could do yourself a half rehab where you get this thing rentable and probably sell it for around 120 to 130, and then maybe you go and you fully update this place and throw 20 to 30,000 into it, and I'm thinking you could get closer to that 170, 180 mark potentially. So if we had all these checked right here, let's take out the distressed one. Again, we want livable properties, and even these are somewhat lower because they're not really nice finishes. It's still putting us at a 120 per square foot price, which puts our property at 135. If we take stuff out, obviously the numbers change and these go up. But this is just a quick way. How quick? Probably not that quick when I look at how long we've been doing this, so I apologize. But this is being recorded on Wednesday, October 21st, on a property I was just asked to look at. And I am going to go back to this guy. And my main question would be, what is your end goal? You're asking me if this is a good deal. You told me it would probably be your first house purchase and that you would plan to rent the house out maybe down the road. That still leaves a lot of uncertainty to me. Because you just need to know what your end goal is. When you talk about how much money you can put down on this property, and then you think of what you're going to be able to rent this for down the road, that's how I will evaluate a property. If I go and put a loan on this property right now, because you told me you're going to put 10 to 20% down, so that means you end up with equity in this property. Let's say you can pick this property up. They're asking 119. Let's say even with a financing offer, because I'm not sure how it would happen in Kingston, New York. I would tell you in Florida, you could probably put a loan on this property. If the kitchen is somewhat serviceable, the roof's good, you could probably still put financing on this property. Granted, there's nothing horrible and the house isn't falling down. So putting that 10 to 20% down, there is definitely an equity play in this property if you get it at the right price. And to me, the right price would be not paying over $100,000 for this property. Seeing that a property sold for $70,000, another one sold for $95,000. I'm sorry, that's the one we're talking about here. But we had that other property prior that showed up that we saw that was a different record, and it was for a higher. I think it was the one for around 90. If I'm thinking of the same property, to me, I would be getting this property under contract under $100,000. To me, that's where I would see the value. And if we go off the wholesaler's rule of thumb, which is typically getting 70% off of the ARV, let's be a little more aggressive than the 140 we said we thought this was worth. Let's say 150,000, and let's say we wanted to get it 70% under that. So that means we got to pick it up for 105. Less repairs, and we already said we maybe need to put 20 into this. That means our offer would actually be around $85,000, but that's usually when you're making an offer in cash. Since we're talking financing, yes, you're probably going to have to pay a little bit more, but it doesn't mean you can't start out with that lower offer. At the end of the day, you make your money in real estate, people, by buying your property right. And what that means is you're going to buy this property the right way right now, where in 2 months, in a year, in 2 years, let's say we have a small pullback, a little recession, and the real estate market gets hit, you're still okay. You want to put a loan on this property, and this is, I'm talking to the person that just asked me this question. You want to put a loan on this property that is going to be completely covered by what this property could fetch in rent. And you want that rent to pay for not only the mortgage, the property insurance, and the taxes, but you want it to account for what those rental expenses are going to be as you become a landlord, which might be property management. I recommend managing it in the beginning yourself, especially if you're starting out and you're new and you're really strapped on cash, but you're going to have to account for property management, vacancies, capital expenditures. So maybe not that roof for the next 15 years, but what about your air conditioners? We're talking up north, boilers. You guys got those things? Your hot water heaters, all of that. That's what's considered your capital expenditures. And then you just got your general maintenance. But everyone has those expenses, and the way they calculate those is going to be different based on your market and your experience as a renter. But you got to be a little more aggressive in the beginning. So if it were me, I would want to know that my mortgage, my payments, everything could be covered by the rent that this property would pull in. If you have a loan on a property, and let's use some even numbers here of $100,000. I got a sheet that I keep for a purchase price. Let's say $100,000, 15% down of $15,000. So our mortgage is $85,000. At 5% interest, that's $456 a month mortgage payment. That's not your taxes and insurance. Let's just say insurance another $100, taxes $150. That's putting us at $700 a month right there, without any of our other costs that we incur being landlords. So take that into consideration. If you think that this property can rent out for easily $1,000 any given day, now or in the future, this could be a good pickup at $100,000, assuming you're going to put some sweat equity into this property, fix it up a little bit yourself, and not break the bank rehabbing it. But I would be looking to get the property for under $100,000, because even if I go and spend that $20,000, now I'm back up to what they originally were asking, $120,000. Let's say I sell this for $140 or $150, less closing costs, commissions. It's a paycheck. It is. But at the same time, maybe our property values will go up, maybe they'll go down. You want that bigger cushion, so get the property at the lowest price possible. And at the price that it's being asked at right now, I don't think it's a deal unless you could honestly and comfortably say that you're going to get $180,000 for this property all day long. Based on what I've seen from some of these numbers, I don't really see that being the case. But again, you can play with this data, and if you're serious about a property, you want to play with this for more than just a minute or two. If you're thinking of making a purchase, play with this all night long. Man, even adding 4 bedrooms doesn't change much to this. You know why? Probably because we're still at 1 bathroom. Who makes a 4-bedroom house with only 1 bathroom? 11, so $130,000. We had a 4-bedroom sell for $130 with a garage. Whew. Oh yeah, that one's dated inside too. And what's our square footage? 1350. Built 1915. So even as a fixer-upper, that thing sold for $130,000. So yeah, I think we can comfortably say that this property fixed up's worth $140 to maybe $180, and I know that's a range, but folks, I'm down here in Florida. I'm not in upstate New York or Kingston, New York. I'm just showing you how it's possible to do this from anywhere using PropStream or having resources in your own market, and how quickly you can come and research one. Might not be quick to you guys because I'm sitting here ranting and rambling, but I hope you got something out of this. And as I'm clicking around, I've noticed a few things that might have changed since my old original PropStream video where I showed you guys a lot of features and the basics. So I will probably be coming back and releasing a new one of those here to come. But I hope somebody, and I hope the person that just shot me the email, gets something out of this video. Thanks for watching.